Welcome to another edition of Resilient Living Podcast, a show dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. My name is Adrian Babashoff, and today is episode 04, and this is the false sense of security. And what better way to start this show than starting your day like I have today? Got to my truck, and that's what you guys are hearing in the background. Excuse that noise. While we get started here, we are broadcasting live from my mobile studio, the 96 F350 diesel pickup truck on my work commute. But I'm supposed to go for a walk today to keep up my health, as I love to share in my life and on the show. And that got postponed because I had a low tire. So luckily for me, as we talked about on the show, is we like to do a lot of prepping, a lot of survival stuff. And sometimes it's not necessarily like the end of the world and, some major catastrophe, other than I just need to get to work and I got a flat tire. Well, what do we do to mitigate something like that? Well, I've got a generator because, first of all, see, where I live is in an RV park, where my business is run out of. And I've got shipping containers. There's no electricity. So what do I have set up? Plenty of gas, six cans of gas. I've got a generator, and I have myself an air compressor that I use for work, so I never skip a beat. So this morning I get there, tire's super low. We hook up the generator, we hook up the air hose, and the tires are filled. And guess what? Right now, within 20 minutes, we're off and we're heading out. I also checked all the tires in my truck. I checked the tire pressures in my other gear, my other Beano's trailer, my tool trailer. So stacking functions, I just took care of everything all at one fell swoop. But what did I plan to do? I planned to go to get my cardio. Well, that's out of the bag now because I have a schedule to keep. So this is just the false sense of security. I think that these things that, like I've experienced this morning, are really healthy because they're small things. If I didn't have myself set up the way I do, I wouldn't have been able to go to work today. The tire was that bad. I would have had to change the tire, call AAA, do something. But because I designed my life, I'm up and running within minutes. But how many things do we have that happen in life where we get postponed or we get deterred or completely knocked off of our direction of where we're going? It was about a year, maybe 2 years ago, one of my clients was an analyst. And what he studied, I guess, was a bunch of databases and stuff like that. And we were talking about how precarious the situation could be, even back then, like 2 years ago. And he said, surprisingly, one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reasons for bankruptcy is illnesses. And that becomes with people on the data, the stats, is that a lot of people who are well-to-do, got everything all figured out. They've got they got the new cars, the Mercedes-Benz. They got the house. They're looking good. They're feeling good, and they deem that they're very smart. Well, then things like that, like life happens. Maybe somebody gets cancer, or diabetes, or gets completely in a major car wreck and is not able to work. That whole empire that you strove to build crumbles down. So I'm not here to say in any way that we shouldn't do anything. I think we have those type of people as well, where they're like, life just happens, so why even try? Live for today, for tomorrow we die. I've had a lot of friends, when I was younger, I had that mentality, sorry to say, but I'm still alive here, decades later. And there's a lot of things that I could have done to make my life a lot easier, added on to what I've already done. So I think that going on in life here, there's a lot of things that we can't predict that can happen, but there's a lot of tools that we can put in place so that we can have a little bit of cushion. And some of those things are emergency funds. Some of those things are investments of tools and, like I said, generators and an air compressor, and getting things in your life where you can utilize, you can fix things, you can create things like money, food, energy. All of these things to me are a big investment, and especially in this day and age with inflation and everything going here in 2021, this is insane. And I spoke about life for the rest of us. And I think that investing in small things, an air compressor is, $200-$300 for a really decent one. These are good investments. These are things that if you had a side hustle you can write a tax write-off, right? Because it's something you use for your business. It just so happens that maybe you needed to air up your tire that day, but it gives you that leeway to do different things. So false sense of security, I think a lot of people sit and just figure, well, somebody else is going to fix it, like this whole coronavirus and things like that. Well, we'll just wait till this whole thing clears out and everything goes back to normal. We have to be in my opinion, anyway, these are all just my opinions, but we always need to be in a state of pivot or of reflection and to be able to pull out from the macro, change things around basically. What if things don't stay the same? What if we don't come back to normal? What if this virus stays? What if something else comes? And would you say that that's a crazy idea? Well, do yourself a favor and go back and look throughout history. Look at what's happened. What we had here with this coronavirus was nothing. We've had some stuff that killed an awful lot of people. I think less than 1% of people died. I was watching these numbers when the whole thing started. But look at just what happened with this whole coronavirus. Talk about false sense of security. How many people have lost their investments and things and just never saw these things happen, lost their businesses. So there's so many things I think that we can learn that, about security, to build your own security and to do what you can to take care of your life, such as being a preparedness individual of not just like gasoline, like I said, and tools and stuff like I have, but I think with your mind. And I think as the show progresses, a lot of people want answers. I'm the type of person too who want answers. We're going to have a lot of answers, but I'm here to say that the answer starts off in the mindset. Because all of these philosophies and all of these things that we share, a lot of the information that I research is from other people, and it works for them. But when I try it, it doesn't work for me. So I have to learn to pivot. It's a false sense of security, right? Somebody else will just tell me how to do it, and I could just fix it. No, not even on this show here. Once it clicks, though, once you understand and you start to see, let's talk about what happened today. I got a generator. If my power goes out in my home, I have tons of prepared foods in my freezer in case there ever was a catastrophe, and I'm going to use those foods anyways, right? So it's not like they're going to go bad. But if it did and everything started to thaw out, I'll just go down and get my generator, hook it up to my tiny house. Everything goes as normal. Well, I'd run out of gas. Well, that's why I have 6 gas cans. I think, what do I got? 20 gallons, I think. 20 gallons, or no, I've got 30 gallons of gas as backup. So that can last me a very, very long time. We're talking about maybe 2-3 months. Turn on the gas, get everything frozen, shut it all off. Only use it when you need it. This is the philosophy of how these things work. Now I go to work and there's no power at the job site. I take my compressor, I hook it up to my pneumatic, my air tools. I keep working, I keep making money. I've got a flat tire. Do you see? I'm able to make money. I'm able to do new things now. Somebody's got a flat tire. I can charge them $10, and use my tools to air them up on the side of the road. I know that one's kind of out left field, but you see how all of these components start to work. And I think that in order to get resilient in your life, you have to understand that there's many components. It's a complex organism, just about. We're going to talk about that in future shows. When we capture rainwater, we're going to store that rainwater in the ground. If I was explaining to somebody who would come to, say, my property, my imaginary property, the property that one day I will own, and there'd be these fruit trees there with bamboo, and you'd look and you'd say, well, this looks like a big, giant, wild mess. But it just looks weird because there's certain lines of trees and plants growing here, and then these weird nets in the back that are collecting rain. They're cloud nets. What are they called? Cloud nets? Yeah. That goes down a series of pipes, and then there's the reason why the fruit trees are way at the bottom is because they're waiting for that water to come. Everything travels underground. We have ground cover plants and things like that, and we're producing our own electricity through photovoltaic and lenses, and we've got this weird mirror thing. Yeah, that's a parabolic lens. That's used to heat up water and cook our foods and melt things, So you would look and go, this is just madness. There's stuff everywhere. That's the kind of design that starts to happen in your life if you want to be resilient against and have security in your life, is to design all of those tools so you're basically, I guess what I'd like to say is that you're so diversified that things can go in many different directions, and you're ready, whatever hits you, you have everything that you can possibly think of. Now, there's a lot of things that we can't think of, but there's a lot of things I think that we can. And I think that we should not be susceptible to live for today, for tomorrow we die, because we may not die. Things may just keep going. And what if we can do things today that would help our lives tomorrow? Your future, give a gift to your future self. Give a gift to the future generations that come before you. If you planted a tree, and a lot of people would laugh at you, you planted a bunch of them, and they'd look and go, you're not even going to see the lumber and the stuff of this tree. He says, I know. But you would plant it there, and next thing you know, your grandchildren would look at this black walnut tree that's like 60 feet tall. The wood's worth probably, I'd imagine as the decades pass and everything, the wood's worth like a couple $1,000s, like $50,000 worth of lumber in that thing. And it's your choice whether you'd want to cut it down or not, or eat the fruit off of it, the nuts. And they would look and say, Grandpa planted that for you. And I can't imagine, even I would never hear those words, but to know that you left things like that as your giddy little secret pleasures that you have in yourself and in your mind, where you're like, I did good. So, and look at the security, the false sense of security. You're planting these things that could either feed the future generations if you're worried about your family. They can be sold off for timber for large amounts of money to help people. They could be used as shade trees. They can be used as building materials. They feed people, as I said. They can do so much. They can be foliar feed for animals. So, false sense of security, I think, is what a lot of us are experiencing, especially right now. This COVID thing, and we also have automation and AI and things like that taking over a lot of different things that I think a lot of people aren't aware of right now. But a false sense of security is because we've been led this way. And I think partially it's because we've allowed ourselves to be led this way. So a lot of people, for instance, like the stimulus, and I know a lot of people do need it. If that goes away, then what are you going to do? I think a lot of people who are able to work and not working, if you wanted to buy a house, I think that we're going to hit a recession, and I think that things are going to go, they're going to go bad. I just don't see how they can't. It may miraculously heal itself, but I seriously doubt it, and I will be surprised. But guess what? I'm looking to capitalize when something like that happens. Maybe I will buy myself a house or a piece of land someplace and start growing a lot more of my own food than I already do. I've set myself up from the past to be in this position. I think a lot of people are not, and they're getting the government handouts, and they're not. It's not helping out their credit. It's not really helping out their life. I think they're just getting by. And as we said, this is moving you from surviving to thriving. And if we're not willing to do the work, and we're not willing to think this way, to look into the future about possible outcomes of many, many things and prepare for them, I think then life will get prepared for you. And we will just survive. We won't thrive. Because the path to thriving is building your methodologies, your philosophies, and not just thinking and building these things, but applying them in real life. So guys, that's the show today. You can message me at resilient, the letter L, Resilientlpodcast at gmail.com. Let me know how I'm doing for you. Let me know if you guys have any answers and what you guys would like to hear about. We got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline here, and I can't think of anything else. We do have a website. It should be up and running by the time this show gets going, and that's resilientlivingpodcast.com. And you can check that out there. But we're just getting started. Let me know how I'm doing for you. It's so fun. I'm so glad to be here. My ending saying always for this show is go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire and human up, my friend.